Call, verb, verb forms. Call, calls, called, called, calling. Give name. 1. Transitive. To give somebody, something, a particular name. To use a particular name or title when you are talking to somebody. Call somebody, something, plus noun. They decided to call the baby Mark. His name's Hiroshi, but everyone calls him Hiro. What do they call that new fabric? Call somebody. They called their first daughter after her grandmother. We call each other by our first names here. See also called. Describe. To. Transitive. To describe somebody, something, in a particular way. To consider somebody, something, to be something. Call somebody, something, plus noun. I wouldn't call German an easy language. Are you calling me a liar? He was in the front room, or the lounge, or whatever you want to call it. I make it £10.43 you owe me. Let's call it £10. Call somebody, something, plus adjective. Would you call it blue or green? 3. Transitive. Call yourself, plus noun. To claim that you are a particular type of person, especially when other people question whether this is true. Call yourself a friend, so why won't you help me then? She's no right to call herself a feminist. Shout. 4. Intransitive. Transitive. To shout or say something loudly to attract somebody's attention. I thought I heard somebody calling. Call out to somebody for something. She called out to her father for help. Call something out. He called out a warning from the kitchen. Call something. Did somebody call my name? Plus speech. See you later, she called. 5. Transitive. Intransitive. Call somebody. To ask somebody to come by shouting or speaking loudly. Will you call the kids in for lunch? Did you call? Telephone. 6. Transitive. To ask somebody, something, to come quickly to a particular place by telephoning. Call somebody, something. To call the fire department, the police, a doctor, an ambulance. The doctor has been called to an urgent case. I'll call a taxi for you. Call somebody something. I'll call you a taxi. Related entries. Making calls. 7. Intransitive. Transitive. To telephone somebody. I'll call again later. Call somebody something. I called the office to tell them I'd be late. My brother called me from Spain last night. Related entries. Making calls. Order somebody to come. 8. Transitive. Usually passive. Plus adverb. Preposition. Formal. To order somebody to come to a place. Several candidates were called for a second interview. The ambassador was called back to London by the Prime Minister. He felt called to the priesthood, had a strong feeling that He must become a priest. Visit. 9. Intransitive, especially British English. To make a short visit to a person or a place. I'll call round and see you on my way home. Call on somebody. Let's call on John. Call to do something. He was out when I called to see him. Meeting, strike, etc. 10. Transitive. Call something. To order something to happen. To announce that something will happen. To call a meeting, an election, a strike. See related entries, business meetings. Of bird, animal. 11. Intransitive. To make the cry that is typical for it. In games. 12. Transitive. Intransitive. Call something. To see which side of a coin you think will face upwards after it is thrown. To call heads, tails. In dances. 13. Intransitive, transitive. Call something. To shout out the steps for people performing a square dance or country dance. Extra examples. Buenos Aires is often called the Paris of South America. Call us free, toll free on this number. He called for help, but no one could hear. He's writing a novel, tentatively called My Future. His friends affectionately call him Bear. I'll call back later. Leave a message and I'll call you back. She called out in pain. The area was formerly called West Meadow. The prison is euphemistically called a rehabilitation center. The system is officially called the NPFE system. We usually call him by his nickname. You could hardly call the show perfect, but it was successful. You should call ahead to make sure that seats are available. A character whom the writer calls simply the girl. A female penguin calling to her mate. A plant variously called cow parsley and Queen Anne's lace. A range of very small organisms collectively called non-plankton. A tree variously called rowan and mountain ash. Soldiers killed by what is euphemistically called friendly fire. Don't forget what I said, she called after him. Could you call by later today? Has anyone called the police? He called out a warning to her. He was in the front room, or the lounge, or whatever you want to call it. His name is Hiroshi, but everyone calls him Hiro. I called around at the house to check how things were. I called the office to tell them I'd be late. I don't know anyone called Scott. I make it £10, 43. You owe me. Let's call it £10. I started to leave, but they called me back again. I thought I heard someone calling. I wouldn't call German an easy language. I've forgotten what the firm he works for is called. My brother called me from Germany last night. She said she was very lonely and it was kind of them to call on her. The cuckoo called across the trees to its mate. The drivers were going to call a strike. The principal called a staff meeting to discuss the changes. We called, but they were out. What's it called again? Yeah, that's right. A modem. What's their son called?